Ladies and gentlemen, some remarks to Sorvent's video about the border situation between Colombia and Panama. Yeah, the situation in Colombia, it's quite interesting as well, and it shows also a kind of bad management by the US deep state, because influence of politics, it goes back to the time of Escobar. Escobar rightfully argued that the CIA itself smuggles drugs, so why shouldn't he? And so he flooded United States with drugs, and he became very dangerous as well in Colombia and South America and in the United States. So he was targeted. So far, so good. But what was the situation? How they tried to fight? There were some different tactics. One was together with military secret service of Colombia to form paramilitary groups who challenge Escobar. So, and to try to protect some areas against FARC and against drug cartels like Escobar's drug cartel, especially against left-wing drug cartels. So it was a left-right-wing thing and game, as against the Medellin cartel and against the FARC. FARC has different generations. So the FARC itself started as a kind of movement to political resistance, to bring more justice to the farmers, but they tried to finance themselves by drug trade and became big drug traders, and their leaders became very rich. And instead of sharing the profit, they demanded even additionally some protection tax from the poor villagers. So in fact, they harmed more than they helped in the end. And they had different generations as well. And yeah, so to challenge Escobar, the paramilitary groups were formed and trained also with the help of the United States, also with the help of the military secret service of Colombia, who got involved into it, the paramilitary groups into the leadership. Some of the paramilitary groups later on tried to be independent, they got split a little bit. And so to finance itself, the problem is that it was more a political fight against a left-wing politician like Escobar, who was more left-wing, allied to left-wing politics, and the CIA, who countered it themselves, used drug trade to finance. And so the paramilitary groups got used to drug trade, and they themselves got used to finance themselves to buy drug trade. So they are nowadays one of the big drug dealing groups in Colombia. There's a huge influence in Venezuela. So when you find some Colombians on the border who control the area a little bit and to make us things and can rape women, an example, then we talk here about the right-wing paramilitary groups. So you have right-wing groups and left-wing groups. The left-wing groups would be the FARC in Colombia and the ELN, what is on the border border zone between Venezuela and Colombia. The FARC has more or less surrendered, became a political party, but some parts continue to fight and still exist so far. And the paramilitary group is very strong. They control the border. Ben was investigating between Panama and Colombia. So in fact, the military secret services of Colombia, and therefore also their allies in the United States, the CIA, still have an influence on the paramilitary groups. No? And they're so much into drug trade that they depend on it. No? So I remember when I have been there as well. I've traveled through Colombia. I remember small talks with some ex-FARC members or actual FARC members, and some people from the paramilitary groups who are actually still in the secret service, and they mentioned that I shouldn't try to go after the junkies or kill the junkies. What was not really my intention in this way, but I am in favor of punishing drug use as well and reducing the drug use by discriminating junkies and addicts as well, not by giving them privileges. No? And it shows that they care a lot about keeping junkies alive, rehabilitation, etc., prolonging the life, and keeping the drug trade alive. So we're talking here about a group trained and sponsored by the Colombian military secret service and the United States to counter Escobar, and these are now their descendants or their followers. No? It's the same group. No? It's same disaster like with Osama bin Laden, Al Qaeda, with ISIS. Osama bin Laden was formed and helped and military trained the Al Qaeda by CIA. They used CIA methods because they were supposed to go after the Russians in Afghanistan and to win against the special forces employed there, the Spetsnaz, the trained Spetsnaz. That's why they have been trained in CIA methods to have the capacity to win against the Russian special forces. And they are quite good, as we know, in planting bombs and planting cells and acting secretly, like the CIA does. So they do the same, but for Al Qaeda. And ISIS was formed to get rid of Assad and sponsored. No? So and still exists ISIS, and they fight each other. But okay, that's a different topic. So there were always failures in the Gladio Condor. Now, what means failures? I mean, Gladio Condor is a little bit piece of shit in the way that they try to control the world, manipulate the world, and try to consolidate political leadership and protect it. This kind of left-right bullshit talking is not always true. They've killed, or they are also responsible to kill the anti-mafia judges Borsellino and Falcone, killed by some mafiosis, but it's the order has been given by Gladio. No? The former Chief Justice from Italy has written a lot about it, and he said and has investigated the Moro murder. He has known the case of the killing of Falcone and Borsellino. And so as a former Italian Chief Justice, he knows well what was going on. And he has written a lot about it, so that Gladio was behind the killing. He also stated the same thing like I do. It is about Gladio orders, and it was Gladio felt threatened, so they ordered the mafia to kill Falcone and Borsellino. So these kind of deep states sometimes interact and help each other. Yeah, fine. So yes, that's to shed a real light of it. Yeah, of course, the mafia is involved, but it's not about left and right. This is what I want to say, and this is quite good to see on the border between Colombia and Panama, because the ones you have filmed are not left-wing groups, are not Democrat related. In fact, they have some privileges now because of some open border politics, of course, and they have an easy game. And yes, but the one you see they're abusing their power and their control of the border, these are right-wing groups, in fact. No? What I want to say, forget about left and right. It's about law and order and constitution. So they have some bullshit groups, FARC and ELN, an example. ELN is sponsored by Germany. FARC has been sponsored by Germany, indirectly. There was an age, they always kidnapped Germans twice a year, once a year. And Mr. Maus from the German Secret Service always went over to Colombia. He took his time. They didn't care, in fact, about the German hostages. No? So they left them there a half year, suffering in the middle of the forest, being in a kind of prison and in very bad conditions, kept in the forest of Colombia. And then they have given 1, 2, 3 million euros to release them. They haven't been asked if they agreed to it. And it was not money supposed to be paid by the state. No, this money has been considered debts of the one who have been taken hostage. And this was, Maus was considered, and the BND, the German Secret Service, was considered by far best friends. He was welcome because they had a very good relation, and they never came to rescue any German by force. No, they came with millions to pay. And they didn't care about the condition of the German hostages. Then you had you have the ELN on the border, is also sponsored by Germany, because they sponsor. There are some German factories, some German business going on, and to secure it, they have an agreement with the ELN that they pay development aid for the regions, knowing that this development aid will go in big parts to this terror group ELN, drug trafficking terror group. So the ELN, they love Germany and the German culture and the German government especially, because they have such a good cooperation and they are so highly financed by them and sponsored by them, that they really love them. They don't see them as enemies now. So just a little bit, giving a little bit insight, and it's not about because there are left wings in the German government. No, it's about the BND, the German Secret Service, and it's about Gladio games, Gladio Condor games, German deep state games, and manipulating the world politics. So they play with both sides, the left and the right side, and they distract from it. Important is always the focus on law and order and constitution. So it doesn't matter if it's left wing or right wing. So these people you have found are right-wing people, raping women and abusing their control power on the border. They are right-wing, and they have been trained formally by USA and right-wing Colombian Secret Service. And they are a major group in drug trafficking. They play a major role also in Venezuela in smuggling food. Venezuela has enough food. Venezuela has really, nobody dies on hunger. The thing is that nothing is really in the market, it's only in the black market. The middle and upper class opposing Maduro, they are fat and they are overweight because they have enough money and fat and they can buy everything, they have enough to buy on the black market. Some law and order people, they are the few ones there, and they really suffer a little bit. They don't die for being hungry, but they have to suffer, but they are not the majority there. The majority has overweight in Colombia and in Venezuela as well. And there are a lot of people having dying because of the overweight. No, but nobody dies because of being hungry, but there are people who suffer because they follow law and order and don't buy from the black market and don't have some money to buy from the black market. And every food what comes in goes finally to the mafia, to the drug cartels, mainly to the right-wing drug cartels who buy the subvention food, who steal the petrol. And that's the main problem of Venezuela, because it's not really that there's a lack of food. It's about that's the organized crime control the black market of food and steal it and get it and corrupt ways, subvention food and selling it. I have seen milk passing through from Colombia to Venezuela, bought by the government, to be sold on much cheaper, subvention by the government, but bought in corrupt ways by the organized crime and passing again through the border from Venezuela to Colombia to be resold in Colombia, because there was a lot of profit to make as a huge subvention what the Venezuelan government did. No? And Venezuela has the cheapest petrol all over the world, I guess. No? And so they smuggle all the petrol out. Sometimes they buy it because it's so cheap that they make always profit of it. Sometimes they simply steal it. And it's not about a few amounts, it's a huge amount of food. And when you send food there, there's nearly a guarantee that this food doesn't arrive to hungry people or poor people or to the legal shops. It will arrive at the organized crime and at the black market finally. Okay, have a nice day, and I hope this information helps. Don't care about left and right, care about law and order, or lawless and orderless.